Well, remember that carrier bearing in the truck that I never replaced that I said I was going to? That's not good. So, taking the drive shaft off in a parking lot. Oh, and shovels in the car, sweating to death. So. Well, if you follow any of the shorts, you'll know that I finally killed the truck again. I think that video posted already, but remember that carrier bearing that I said I was going to replace on the transmission, and I never did? That decided to die driving home. I was helping my grandma cut down a tree that came down, so chopping that up all day, being nice, and on the way back, started making a weird creaky noise for about 2 seconds, and then I took off at a light and just heard a metal on metal clattery noise, and it stopped when I stopped. So pulled into like a soccer field park on the side of the road, jumped underneath the truck, and the carrier bearing is completely gone. The bearing itself is on there, but the rubber bushing that holds it in the mount for the carrier bearing, the rubber bushing was completely gone. So it was basically drive shaft bearing bouncing around on the cross member. And that was about 5:30 or something yesterday. So I ended up actually having to get the truck towed, which is the first time that truck has ever actually been towed. I fixed most things on the side of the road. I was hoping to try and do that. Luckily my mom was right behind me, coming back from that other house, and I jumped in the car with them because I had Shovel, a dog, with me. And by the time they got there to where I was at, I already had the drive shafts out and pretty much everything disconnected. The carrier bearing support plate was out. And then I tried finding parts local out there. It's about 25 minutes from my house, but nobody had parts in stock. And then looking at the drive shaft section, it is a press fit. So I ended up having to take the front half of the drive shaft over to the shop and press that bearing out. I did not have the camera going. I didn't even have it with me. And I was flustered and angry trying to just get the thing back home last night. But then it started getting dark and couldn't get parts, which is just kind of a huge pain. They had the other size carrier bearings, but not the small one that I need. I think I need a 1.38 inch bearing. So I'm heading over to the auto parts store now up here. Hopefully they have the parts in stock, and we'll try and see what we can do on this video. Unfortunately, I gotta drive halfway to where my truck is at, pick up parts, come all the way back up here, repress the bearing onto the drive shaft, and then drive all the way back down. Hopefully figure out a ride situation so I don't have to keep going back and forth. But the truck's parked on the street at my mom's house now. That's where the tow truck dropped it off, and that's the adventure we're doing today. So I'll update you guys after we hit the parts store, and hopefully they have what I need. All right, back at the shop. I got the new parts, precision piece. Here's the old carrier. All of this should have rubber around it. Here's the new one. I already slid it part of the way on the shaft, so it's not going to be a detailed how-to because I'm really just rushing to try and get this patched. Did not come with the rear dust seal. I should get one with one, but we don't have time for that because I have a dead vehicle. Parts were cheap, so I can reorder a new one. Here is the old bearing. Can't reuse the seal because it's completely deformed and mangled from getting it apart. So we got this pretty much all laid out now, and we just need to drive this back on. There's two sections. So there's a lip here. The lip would go into the dust seal, so make sure that's facing the back of the drive shaft, and then the front side just kind of open. The nicer kits have, like, they gave me the wrong part first. I had to caliper that out because there's a bunch of different sizes that they used on different Fords. This is like a 1.38 inch. The 1.5 inch came with new dust seals front and rear, which I was hoping this one did, but it didn't, and this is all they had in stock. So kind of, again, cutting corners to make future problems for myself. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So we got a big piece of pipe here. I'll just kind of drive this on. Hopefully the ground's good enough for this. So it does press fit on but going on is substantially easier than trying to get this off. The old one was on for however long, so obviously that one was a little bit worse. But now, without that dust seal in there, it's definitely going to shorten the longevity and life of this. But it is a sealed bearing, so I don't think it should be that bad. I'm trying to just get a hand in here, but now you can see that's fully seated on the lip. So basically there's a step for the dust boot that went here, and then the tapered, not tapered, it's a straight shaft, but keyways on the front are seated, and then there's that little section in the middle. That is all good. So we should be okay there, I think. Give it 2 more whacks just for good measure. And then we can try and go put all this stuff back in the truck. I know for a fact I did mess up since I was underneath the truck with next to no tools. You want to mark your yokes. I didn't do that for a couple reasons. One, I was underneath the truck and I literally had a 9/16 and a 1/2 inch wrench, and that's all I needed to pull the drive shaft. I had no hammers, I had no punches, I had no markers, nothing. So we'll have to kind of figure out how this is going to lay back in. I don't think that there was any goofy splined keyway sections on this, so we might be chasing down some driveline vibrations, or at some point maybe I got to bring this into a drive shaft shop and have them re-bearing that, or rebalance that accordingly. But we'll kind of see what it is. I'm going to pop off this upper carrier now, the old shell. We'll unbolt this, get this bolted back on, and then I think we should be ready to go play some vehicle Tetris and try and get this thing running again. A bushing that's actually in one piece. So don't cut corners, that's the moral of this story. I didn't do that when I had the trans out and the drive shafts out. Really should have. Oh well. Let me load all this stuff back up in the car and figure out which car I'm driving down to leave at my mom's house. Back on the road. Running back down to my mom's house now. Carrier bearings installed, drive shaft is in. Now we'll make the 20-minute drive down there with minimal hand tools. I did grab an electric impact to try and speed it up a little bit, but it doesn't really help on the U-joints. You can only do those quarter turn at a time as is, because there's not enough room around the yoke to get a ratcheting wrench or socket on there. So we need to get back, throw the front drive shaft in with the carrier support. Hopefully all of those line up. There is a little bit of movement and wiggle room. Don't know why that just died. GoPro just turned off. The battery's full. Weird. But on my way to my mom's house, carrier bearing is installed on the front section of the drive shaft. And then, fingers crossed, the bolts line up on the cross member. I'm a little worried about that, but they are slotted, so there's a little bit of wiggle room. I brought the electric impact with me, so should help speed that up a tiny bit, and then hopefully everything else lays out okay. I did tape the U-joint on this section of the drive shaft. You probably saw that in the video. I did not do that on any of the bolts or the hardware that I left on the bottom of the carrier plate. It's not factory, but instead of having the carrier mount straight to the cross member, they had a extra plate on the bottom with 4 bolts that kind of pinched around it. We're going to be putting that setup back in just because that's how it was, but when I had everything apart on the side of the road, I did not have electrical tape, so I couldn't tape those U-joints, and I actually did not go to meet the tow truck guy. So I know the tow truck guy was over there. My mom ran over there and grabbed pretty much all of the stuff I left underneath the truck because I was planning on fixing it last night and it just didn't work out. So fingers crossed that drive shaft section still has a U-joint intact and those caps are still on since they weren't taped, and I forgot to tell her to be careful with those. So we'll see what happens. Worst case, if I gotta go out and grab another U-joint, we can do that too. They do have a vise. It's really crappy and it's kind of wedged in the corner, but there is one over there, so we should be able to slap that back together if need be. Very, very minimal tools. I got the little Harbor Freight kit, and hopefully that's all we need. So fingers crossed. On location, fixing the truck in the street. Haven't had to do that in a while, but there's the plate of all the hardware that I pulled out yesterday. Drive shaft is still intact, and even without tape, they were pretty good with the U-joints, so I think we're in pretty good shape. And I just realized I do have a mark on here, so at some point I did set all that up, but we'll jump into the car. I'll film what I can. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see because it's not jacked up, but this will go in first on the front, and then I got to figure out how to slip this rear yoke onto the slip joint. So still got to snug these down once I get it up and in the car and figure out where that needs to land. So let's get under there. Underneath the truck-ish. Oh, God. Miserable. Not too bad for you guys. I wasn't sure what you'd be able to see. So carrier, we'll get this on first-ish. And then we gotta figure out how to get this yoke back in and cut all of the tape off of this U-joint. So I think what I'm going to do is start with the U-joints up front. Just get that in. Find out where my tape line is. Try not to lose all these bearings. It's the nerve-wracking part. Exactly what I didn't want to do. The tape was too sticky. Okay, so now the U-joints are kind of floating. And man, I really wish this trans wasn't in gear. Drop the drive shaft in first, I guess, because that yoke is locked now. Okay, so that's in up front, kind of. Get a U-bolt in here and then I'll move you guys. Come on. There we go. All right, one U-bolt should hold that relatively okay. Can you guys see that? I don't know what's showing up and not showing up. So, U-joints back in. Obviously, I still got to tighten the bolts. But here, let me do this. Sorry. Very tight fit. U-joints back in. Put the 2 bolts on here, and then I got to get the other U-bolt in on the upper side. And that should give us enough wiggle room on this rear section to adjust this and tighten those down. But I want to get this locked in so I don't risk any of those falling out. So I need a nut and a bolt. or a washer and a bolt nut. Not gonna lie, when this broke, I thought it was something in the trans at first. Even though it's been running so well lately, I just got really nervous because it made a lot of really strange noises that I don't usually hear. Quarter turn, well, half turn at a time. And then I think I'm gonna jump up and drop this thing in neutral. It shouldn't roll anywhere. It's not how you want to be working underneath the car, but I can't rotate this drive shaft around while it's in gear. Okay, this side's kind of in and snug down. Let me see if I can at least get the other U-bolt on up here. And then I'll jump up and kick it out of gear to rotate it. Okay, there's that. Back up top. All right, back in neutral, I think. Now I can spin this around. Oh, shit, a little loose. Come on. Why? Why are you not going all the way in? All right, we'll get 2 more bolts started on this now. Just so I don't have to worry about that shifting on me. I don't want to drop this down yet until I snug this up a tiny bit. It still would have been a pain in the ass if I did this when I had the trans out. I think one of the reasons I stalled was just trying to figure out which carrier I needed. But me putting it off then made it a much bigger pain in the ass. Doing this on the ground and then having to deal with the tow and all that. I should have definitely done this way earlier. All right, now we're caught in the groove. Just took a minute. I'm not going crazy tight on these yet. So the front's done. Now I get to move on to the rear carrier bracket with all the new stuff. So far it looks not too far off, which is good. Line this up right there. And I get a little bit of wiggle room on this one, so that should land somewhere right around there. Don't know how tight I have these in the slots. Probably gonna loosen these just a hair. See if I can get a little more. It's gotta come back just a bit. But these bolts are in slotted grooves on the plate, so I think we should be okay there. Take the tension off of these. And then I think, yeah, I got a little bit of room to slide this back and forth now. I don't know where exactly this needs to land. Right there. Bolts pretty much line up in the groove. Right there. Not hitting anything. Still free. Then I'm wondering if I should try and put the rear section in first. Here's kind of what I'm looking at here. This bolt comes through there where it should land on this mount, but I'm guessing part of that is why we have a sandwich plate. This rusty section is where that lives usually. So let's see what we're gonna do here. Maybe I'll drop the rear drive shaft in, make sure everything lines up the way it's supposed to first. Oh. See if I can spline this in. I'm nervous. It's a very tight fit. I need some grease. You know what? I'm gonna grab some electrical tape and tape this rear U-joint. I haven't done that yet, and I don't like having to shift this around. We'll be right back. Okay, so I'm gonna mount the plate first because when I try and get that back and the drive shaft back in, it keeps walking all over the place on the back. So I'm just gonna throw some bolts in this just to snug this down. And then hopefully I can get this drive shaft to spline in. It's a little tight, but I did hit it with the hammer. So I'm hoping that's not really gonna cause me any major issues. I'm a little nervous about it, but in a pinch, it was kind of all I could do. And I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But if I can at least get this mounted and stationary, I won't have to try and spline it in and have it wiggling all over the place. I'll check inside and see if I have any grease or oil or something. Try and lube up the splines a little bit because I forgot to bring some. This should at least get us kind of in the ballpark. I know I still need washers and things, but... All right. Let me grab a socket. Okay. Apparently that wasn't recording, so I apologize. But we got the slip yoke back on. Now I'm gonna move to the back, grab my 1/2-inch wrench from way down here, and find the bolts. Then we'll move to the back and hook this back up to the rear end so the slip yoke's back on. Drive shaft comes down to here, and then we gotta play the round everything or rotate everything game. There's no room. I'm trying to get you in a spot where you're not gonna be in my way. So I'll take the tape off of here, and hopefully we get enough room. I think we do. double tape on this one because my first one broke. And that'll go there, and then I just gotta see if I can slide this back. Oh, she's a little tight. Let me see if I can at least get a U-bolt in here on one of these. There's one, kind of. And we'll slide the drive shaft back here in a minute. Actually, I wonder if I can move the truck back a smidge, just so this is sideways. Like that. Yeah, I feel better about that one. We'll get the U-bolts lined up. These get real tight if I seat them first. So that should work there, I think. All right, let me find the nuts. We're just about seated. The drive shaft's gonna come back a tiny bit more. It's a little stuck on those splines, but I think it should be okay. Lesson learned. When you're in a pinch, sometimes it's better to wait than just beat the crap out of things. Because I made it worse. All right. Good. All right. We got the drive shaft. So this one's tightened down. It looks like we're actually in pretty good shape on the carrier. I don't know how bad the vibrations are going to be or how out of phase these two drive shafts are, but it will at least go down the road now. So I'm going to run back up to the front and just finish tightening these ones. Laying in a puddle of oil. Tight. So we should be in pretty good shape. And we'll just rip down the rest of these cross member bolts. I still got to put one more of these in, but I don't have that right now, which is fine. I'll tighten down these uppers on the carrier support bracket first. Oh, it's a pain with the drive shaft and the exhaust in now. But this is the last bit. The rubbers look okay there. I think we'll be fine. There's one. And then we get to find out how bad this is actually going to drive. Okay, we're good. Throw all my tools and junk out right here. Go for a quick. Here goes nothing. Oh shit. I don't have my keys. I never take my keys out of here. those drive shafts out of phase. It's quieter. I don't know if it's because the motor's not warmed up. And it's not doing the lifter tick that I've been meaning to address. Or maybe that was actually the bearing. We'll see when it warms up a little bit. Oil's still cold. I'm legitimately not hearing that lifter tick right now. Oh yeah, it's there a little bit. It's driving again. Everything's back in. I didn't notice anything crazy right off the bat. It actually feels really good. So when I was younger, and doing some car stuff like, I don't know, 16, 17. It's really big, I'm not gonna lie. I was big into import stuff and small little tuner turbo motors. And then I got into old Jap bikes, and a lot of bikes have gone over 80 miles an hour down this backstretch in my parents' neighborhood. Now I'm a little more mature and I don't like doing it, but I think I'm going to lay into it one pass. Just for old time's sake. Unless there's neighbors walking and kids out, but... Yeah. She's fixed. I'm gonna leave this here, take Dottie's car home, and figure out the rest later. Alright, back in Dottie's car again. Truck is fixed. Took it for a quick little lap around the neighborhood. Just got back to shop 2. Unloaded some more of my old fishing stuff that I forgot I had over there. Some poles and things. Dropped that off at the new shop. Now I'm heading home. Figure out what Dottie's doing, and then we gotta Tetris some vehicles around or do a ride back to xlch, and one way or another I gotta grab the truck. It's at least in the driveway so it can stay there overnight if need be, but I'd like to try and just get it back because I need to do truck things and pick up some more sand and other stuff. So that'll wrap this one up. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. As always, I greatly appreciate it. But giant pain in the ass because I was too lazy to fix it last time when it was up on the lift. Live and learn. Catch you guys on the next one.